What's going on, my fellow A-Plusers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report. I'm your host, as always, Adam Perez, back once again, ladies and gentlemen, as we are here to certainly go ahead and break down Wonder Woman 1984. As we have a little bit of a spoiler review and discussion for you guys today. Wanted to actually hold off on doing this review at least until this afternoon to honestly give everybody the opportunity, if they have HBO Max, to go ahead and certainly check it out. Maybe you're one of the lucky ones that got the opportunity to see this movie in theaters. There is a part of me that certainly wish I had that opportunity to instead of seeing it on the small screen. But regardless, Wonder Woman 1984 is here, the sequel to the highly acclaimed Wonder Woman, brought to us this time around by not only Patty Jenkins but Jeff Johns as well, who was in fact the co-writer on this movie. So we're going to be breaking it down for you guys today. So again, spoiler review. So if you haven't had the opportunity to check it out, we will be talking about it in great depth. But of course, we definitely want to know your guys' opinions as well in regards to it, whether we talk about characters, plot, storyline, whatever the case may be. We definitely want to know your thoughts if you had the opportunity to go ahead and check out this film. But it's not just me here today. No, it is not just me. We do have the whole entire cast here today, bringing in Stuart and Indy. What's going on, fellas? How's everybody doing today, man?
Dynamic and really good.
Yeah, good choice in background, man. I like it. Looks good.
Yeah. I wanted a Themyscira theme, but they were all like super bright, and my lighting wasn't set for that.
You're good, man. What's going on, Stuart? Good to see you, buddy. How you been, man?
Hey, I've been really good. I had a really great Christmas weekend, so I'm ready to get back into work and review this movie.
Yeah, I didn't even, not that I could say I didn't even remember that Wonder Woman was coming out, but I know we decided not to go ahead and do an A-Plus Hero Report traditionally the way that we normally do things. But considering the fact that this is one of the biggest movies to release in I don't know how many months, I thought it would be pretty important for us to certainly go ahead and talk about it and discuss it, since movies are kind of back in some way, shape, or form. We'll see what 2021 certainly has in store for us, but at least when it comes to HBO Max, it definitely feels as though we've got some movies lined up for us to certainly enjoy. I am kind of curious who popped up into the live chat with us. Dino Knights Fight for Your Rights is certainly here. Says Merry Christmas, guys. Merry Christmas to you too, AJ. Thanks for coming through, man. I hope everybody certainly had a great Christmas. How was yours, Indy? You had a pretty good time, man? Pretty good one?
I had a great Christmas for the couple hours that I wasn't at work.
You had to work on Christmas?
Sales, you know how it goes.
Yeah, bro.
You know, we got to capitalize on the human dollar.
So, I figure there.
Working on Christmas is one of the worst things ever, no matter where you're working. Because the movie theaters, I hated it, and then same exact thing back when I was working at Noah's Bagels. We were technically closed on Christmas Day, but we were open Christmas Eve. Still like one of my worst memories of working there.
Yeah, man, retail, just working retail in general. I remember many of those days, if not working on Christmas, then at least working around the holiday season, or at least like working half a day, on Christmas type of thing. It can be brutal, man. It's rough, but listen, guys, we definitely have ourselves a movie that we definitely have to go ahead and talk about. Hopefully for some people, they certainly went ahead and enjoyed this film. Hopefully a part of their Christmas holiday. There was also another Disney movie that wound up dropping in Soul, which I did not get the opportunity to check out yet, but I'm hearing good things about Soul. Have you guys had the opportunity to check out Soul too?
Not yet, but I did see, because it was like separate from the actual movie for some reason, I did watch the short that came up, but I am planning on probably watching it, if not today, definitely sometime this week.
Yeah, it is on my list of things to watch. I've been hearing some pretty good things about it, and it's from Pixar, if I'm not mistaken, also. So I feel like you can never go wrong with a Pixar film, honestly. Did you like it also, Indy? Looks like you were a big fan of it.
Best movie I've seen this year.
Nice. I mean, not that we have many to choose from, but yes, and very nice. I'll have to check it. I said Jamie Foxx is the lead, right?
I don't know. You get so lost in the imagery and the story that they're telling that who's actually doing the voices doesn't matter, because it's a beautiful story, and it takes you somewhere. The movie takes you somewhere you never thought you would go. Like, I was somebody who didn't even know the movies. I just clicked it. You know how you get on Disney Plus, you go, "Ooh, what's this?" and click it.
Yeah.
I thought it was Moses Jones. Like, to be totally honest with you, I got geeked, and I was like, "Oh, I'm finna watch this," and it came on. And I'm like, "Wow!" and got into it, and man, like, I cried at the end.
Really, I'll have to check it out, man. I definitely want to check out Soul again. I've been hearing some really good things about it. But if you guys have had the opportunity to check out Soul, definitely go ahead and let us know, because I know they did they drop both on Christmas Day?
They
Yep.
both dropped on Christmas Day.
Okay, yeah. See, I didn't. Yeah, this movie definitely overshadowed it, as far as like I feel like maybe commercialized marketing and things like that. I honestly forgot Soul was even dropping, so I'm definitely going to go ahead and check it out. But guys, the movie is finally here. Listen, this is a huge movie that I think a lot of us were certainly anticipating when it comes to the sequel to Wonder Woman. When you think of the past sort of DCEU movies from its sort of first phase during its Zack Snyder's run, if you will, Wonder Woman was definitely one of those films that certainly stood out, made a ton of money at the box office. People absolutely loved it, craved some more. And so going into Wonder Woman 1984, there was certainly a lot of hype and certainly a lot of expectations behind this film. I think some of us, we've been waiting for this film for 2 years. I believe it's been pushed back several times already for us to certainly watch this film. And I think some of us thought maybe it wouldn't make it to at the end of 2020, maybe thinking that they would go ahead and push it back. But it's finally here, ladies and gentlemen. So we're definitely going to go ahead and talk about it. I don't even know where to start, to be perfectly honest with you guys, in regards to this review. But let me just, I guess, overall, let's just go down the line here, and just overall, without really getting into super fine details, what are just your overall feelings about this particular movie? Do you guys want me to go first? Do you guys want to go first? Who wants to go first here? Oh, Indy's pointing at you, Stuart.
I guess I'll go first. Yeah, okay. So without getting into any specifics, I thought the movie was good. Not great, and definitely nowhere near on the same level as the first Wonder Woman movie, but I did definitely enjoy the film. I think acting wise, it was really well done. Visual effects, I'll wait till I get a little more into detail with the visual effects on why I was very mixed with it, but I'll put it this way. You can definitely tell the people working behind the special effects knew what they were doing, and they definitely had some really interesting aspects to them. But there's one thing, and I'll get into that like later as we talk about the kind of the story and everything, but there's just one thing about the visual effects that I just was not the biggest fan of. But yeah, I'll get into that as we like kind of go into more depth.
Okay, very nice. Yeah. What about you, Indy? Overall, if you had to, no grade or anything, but just overall your thoughts about the film.
My thoughts on the film is that it was overhyped. I think it coming out so late hurt it, that if it would have came out when it was supposed to come out, the film would have seemed like it was better. The anticipation and the hype built for the film, and then having it launch on Christmas Day, for me, set expectations too high, and kind of made me come out at like an even null. You know what I'm saying, for the movie.
I gotcha. No, I definitely agree. Definitely agree with certain aspects there for sure. For me, I enjoyed the film. I liked it. I thought it was good. I don't think it was anything overly special. I mean, when I definitely think of the film, the first one certainly still wins it over for me. So there definitely were things that it certainly missed out on, that I don't think it executed really well. I've seen the movie twice. Me and the girlfriend actually sat down and watched the film twice, just so I can kind of understand, just make sure how I certainly felt about it. But I enjoyed the film. I liked it. There were definitely some really fun things that I enjoyed. I enjoyed the aspect of it embracing sort of the 80s vibe that they talked it up to certainly be. So I definitely enjoy that. A lot of my issues certainly came with the script. It definitely felt a little bit disjointed and a little bit of a mess, to be quite honest with you. It doesn't feel like Patty Jenkins' finest work, to say the least, but there were definitely elements of this movie for me to walk away from certainly enjoying. I just don't know if all the pieces they had in place that were going to be in this film that I think might have worked. I just don't think they executed a lot of it with precision, to be honest with you. So it did feel a little bit all over the place, but still a film that is passable for me, if you know what I mean, right? If it's a film I just want to go ahead and put in, enjoy maybe some background noise, I mean, that's fine. But it's definitely not something that I'm rushing out to tell everybody, you've got to see this movie. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of a bummer. It definitely feels like it's let down. Now, maybe there's a part of me that had my own personal expectations too high. I don't necessarily know if I can blame Warner Brothers for its release date and its timing. I mean, granted, this is a movie we should have had 2 years ago, but just based off of where we're at with the world and how everything's just kind of been a mess and in shambles, I get the idea of at least, hey, let's give them something for Christmas to be certainly hopeful for. So I wouldn't necessarily put it on Warner Brothers or DC for that. I think for us as a fandom in general, a lot of us certainly went into this movie with high expectations that just at the end of the day just weren't met. And I don't know if that's because we had other ideas of what we probably wanted to see in this film, but just based off of what Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns gave me, if this is the film that they wanted to give me, and just looking at it from that perspective, it was an okay movie. It was a decently good movie, but it definitely had its issues. Is how I walked away from this. So, but if we want to go into some of the details, let's talk about the pros, though. Let's talk about the pros first before we get into the cons. So, Stuart, let me start off with you, man. What were some of your pros that really stood out to you about this film that you were like, I think they nailed that?
A couple of things. Dialogue I thought was actually really good throughout the entire movie, even when it was like kind of being dragged down by a really weird plot. I feel like they did a really good job of being able to work around that with how I think like the idea of like the MacGuffin of the film essentially being a rock that can grant wishes is so silly, but I think that the way the characters played it very straight, and they themselves were kind of like aware of how weird such an object can be. So I think that's what definitely helped with the really weird plot. But I also just think that it kind of goes to Chris Pine and Gal Gadot just having really great chemistry together on screen. Like the two of them working together in this movie, I loved anything like any scene that involved the two of them together. It's really hard because there's a lot of superhero movies that try to force in that romance and superhero TV shows, and it ends up like just really dragging the movie down. I think in this particular case, the romance plot was actually what kind of lifted this film up in a lot of ways, for sure. And then I also really liked Pedro Pascal's Maxwell Lord. He's not how I personally would have written the character. I think I would have taken the character a slightly different direction. But that said, I didn't mind this version of Maxwell Lord. It was definitely just a very weird one, but I loved Pedro Pascal's performance as Maxwell Lord, and especially loved his arc that he went through. For the most part, I really liked his arc.
Yeah, I actually was really stunned by Pedro Pascal. Not that I didn't know how great of an actor is, but I really enjoyed just how much he really put himself into the character. Honestly, he really gave 100%, regardless of what the script was like. Pedro Pascal certainly did the best that he certainly could with what he was given, and I honestly thought that he did a great job with it, man. There is something about his sort of flamboyantness and maybe overacting sometimes, just as that Maxwell Lord character, but it definitely feels very like sort of 80s con man sort of, I want the world for myself sort of thing. I want all the power. So I think Pedro did a really fantastic job in here. I honestly, I definitely would agree with you. For me, I thought the Chris Pine and the Gal Gadot stuff was pretty good. Maybe not as emotional as I was maybe hoping for, like we got in the first one. There were maybe elements that I would have liked to have seen, maybe more dialogue between these two, maybe more sentimental moments, if you will, just because of the fact that when they do separate at the end of the film, it didn't necessarily pull me the way that I wanted to sort of in their goodbyes. Like, I love the scene of her sort of like kissing him and then having to pull herself away and just walk into battle. That element I really appreciated, but there were aspects of the Chris Pine, Gal Gadot sort of relationship that, while I enjoyed the chemistry, I still think it was definitely there from the first one. Maybe not as emotional for me, but certainly still an enjoyable part of this movie. What else you got, Stuart, before we move on to Indy here?
I think that about covers it.
Okay.
With the visual effects, again, I'll stick with saying that I'm mixed on that, but I'll get into that when I talk about the cons of the film.
All right. And what about you, Indy? When you watch this film, what are some of the pros that actually jump out at you?
The pros is I really like the background with young Diana. I really love Lily Aspel, the young girl that they got to play.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, that was an aspect that I really felt that they could have, if they would have leaned a little bit more into that and gave us a little bit more of that, I feel like the movie would have had a softer transition. I think it jumped around back and forth from that, and the way it did it was a little bit too harsh. But her performance, especially for a young actress taking on such a big role as it is, to me was amazing. And we get hats off to Pedro after watching him walk around in a suit of armor, you know what I'm saying, for 2 seasons, and then finally getting this movie and
it's
actually
refreshing.
seeing him be able to act, express, you know what I'm saying, facial expressions, man, he did the damn thing in this movie, and was one of the things that kept me interested in seeing what he was going to do. He literally had the best arc in the movie. It should have just been called Maxwell Lord featuring Wonder Woman. That's honestly what it should have been. And then the saving grace of this movie, Kristen Wiig.
Yes.
Hats off, because her character development, even though she had so little screen time compared to, you know what I'm saying, compared to a lot of other people in the movie, when she should have had more, especially through the transition she went through, she made every moment she had on the screen very important. And my hats off to her. And I'm fan casting her and other stuff already.
Yeah.
Performance here.
One of my, my girlfriend was super thrilled with Kristen Wiig. One of the things that she said that excited her about going into Wonder Woman 84 was the fact that Kristen Wiig was sort of being kind of put in this spotlight, to be in a superhero film, playing a villain and things like that, because she watches a lot of SNL. So she definitely appreciates Kristen Wiig for sure. And I got to say, man, I totally agree, man. She floored me in this. I thought her chemistry with Gal Gadot was really great. While I don't think Gal Gadot is the finest actor in the world, right? I don't think she's going to win an Academy Award anytime soon. I love just the time that we saw on screen between those two ladies. Honestly, I really enjoyed their chemistry, and Kristen and Pedro together also, their times together with as Minerva and Maxwell. I really thought they just jumped off the screen. You can really tell just how well they got along, not only on set, but when performing too. I thought they brought it, man. Getting the opportunity to see Kristen Wiig kick some ass. She looked great, man. She looked brilliant. So I'm glad that they managed to put her in this role. And I definitely get what you're saying. Like, I would love to see her in other stuff now too, Indy. So I'm glad that you brought up Kristen Wiig for sure, man.
Definitely.
I will say this, for me, a couple things that I really enjoyed about this film. We talked a little bit about at the top, the idea that I love how they embrace the 80s. I thought the intro to this movie was great, from the Themyscira stuff of, as you mentioned, the young Diana, seeing her sort of through those Olympic Games. I thought that was a really great sort of way to introduce us to this movie, throw us into the world, and then to give us a more present day version of her, of Wonder Woman saving people in the mall. I honestly just love that, combined with the Hans Zimmer score. For me, the intro of this movie really kind of actually just jumped me into the film. So I really love just the tone and the vibe that it wind up setting for itself. So I love the fact that they really went sort of very big, very flamboyant, and kind of cheesy in a little bit of its performances. But I feel like for me, there is an element that it adds a little bit of a charm to this movie, because it feels so very 80s. Not all of it certainly came across as great performances, though. I do feel, again, because of the execution and the way that the script was, I don't necessarily know if it was the best execution at the end of the day. But I will say this: when I watch this film, guys, and I don't know if it's just me or not, but I get sort of like just Sam Raimi and Richard Donner sort of Superman vibes when I watch this movie. And I think it's because of the fact that, one, this feels very much, and again, it goes back to the cheesy aspects, kind of like a little bit too on the nose, but it feels as though that's exactly what she's trying to go for. When you watch movies like a Sam Raimi Spider-Man, it's a real kind of like embracing of sort of the comic book world, and sort of some of the over the topness that usually comes with it. The characters, very big, very flamboyant, very much into their characters. And I feel like that even transpires here in this film. And the same thing with the Richard Donner. It felt like a very I don't want to say innocent film, but I mean, it definitely had its lessons in it. It definitely portrayed Wonder Woman sort of in this truth, justice, American way type of thing, right? Being an inspiration to, like the little girl that we saw in the mall, even though she certainly was still a mystery to the world, we clearly see that despite her having such a big impact in World War I, she is kind of picking and choosing her spots and letting herself be seen, if you will. So there is an element of mystery there, but I really love just sort of that what they kind of built Wonder Woman up to be in this movie, and it definitely does give me kind of old school classic Richard Donner and Sam Raimi sort of vibes when it comes to how they portrayed their comic book movies in this. And for that alone, I do wonder if this makes for a good Wonder Woman movie or just a good movie in general, right? Like when you think of Superman Returns, I don't know if Superman Returns was like a great Superman movie, but I think it's a solid movie. You know what I mean? And so I wonder if maybe that type of time period for what a superhero movie used to be works for today, or if maybe as a fandom we have higher expectations than something like that now. But those are just kind of the vibes that I got. Not that it's bad. I really love what Patty Jenkins tried to do directorial wise. I definitely got Sam Raimi and Richard Donner vibes, and I do think that was great. But I still think it's not as good as those movies. I'm not saying that, but those are just some of the vibes that I wind up getting from it, though. What do you guys think in regards to that?
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from in that. That's exactly how I feel, especially with the way Wonder Woman's been written as far as in the comics. You know what I'm saying? Like the past decade, I really feel like we might have missed the bar when it comes to a Wonder Woman movie. But to me, it was an incredible, you know what I'm saying, movie in its own. The storyline to me felt something that it felt back to the future-ish. Maybe because it was in 1984, like with the cheesiness and everything like that. It just didn't feel like a superhero movie to me. It almost felt like a young girl entered a comic book and was trying to, you know what I'm saying, live up to what the superhero was going, you know what I'm saying, was supposed to be. Like it wasn't what we read. It was somebody trying to be that. And even though Patty Jenkins or whoever, you know what I'm saying, that ever did the script,
Jeff Johns
didn't get the point across. I do believe this is a good mark for young girls everywhere who are looking at Gal Gadot, this Wonder Woman, as a role model, and being able to have strength and, you know what I'm saying, still be a woman, you know what I'm saying, still love, still hurt, still trying to find your place in the world. I really feel like they were trying to speak to a different aspect rather than just speak to us who are into superhero movies.
Yeah, no, I definitely get you there. Like there definitely are messages and things like that that certainly will resonate with certain people when it comes to this film. But I think as far as like it being a superhero film, I mean, it definitely is a superhero film for sure. I just think it's a different way at certainly approaching a superhero film. One that I don't know if it will attach itself very well to current day fandom, but I definitely do think there's certainly going to be some people out there that absolutely love this movie and it works perfectly for. What are you thinking, Stuart? What are your thoughts, man?
I mean, yeah, so going into the 80s aspect of it, I did think that it worked in a lot of areas with the movie, especially I thought like the opening with the mall scene was pretty cool. But then we get to like kind of the way they did the visual effects, and this is where I get really mixed on the movie, is that they look really impressive. They look like a lot of work was put into them. But the thing that I wasn't the biggest fan of with how they utilized it is almost every single scene with, Gal Gadot, doing something really cool. It almost looks like she's directly looking into the camera and winking to the audience, kind of like old school Superman style, which, I wouldn't have minded if there wasn't a lot of that, but there seemed to have been a lot of that within this movie. And, usually even in those Superman films, you didn't see, the Christopher Reeves, right? Yeah, you never saw him winking to the camera like that much. You saw him doing it at the very end of the film when everything had wrapped up. But with Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, it feels like anytime she's like doing any cool action move, she always has to like take a moment to be like trailer shot, and then continues doing like whatever she's doing. And it also kind of comes into like some of the swinging scenes. Like I feel like they looked cool for the trailer because that's what they were made for. But kind of when you watch it all like fold out the way it does in the movie, it really doesn't feel whenever she's like swinging with her rope. It never really feels like there's any momentum moving her. It just kind of feels like someone just, used Adobe Premiere Pro to just kind of drag an image across the screen. Yeah, so I don't know, and like I said, like I get like they were going for like the old school like aspect to it, and I can't even call it lazy because everything else around it looks so good. So clearly it's there as an homage and not because they're just being lazy. But at the same time, when you're doing it that much in the film, it just, to me anyways, kind of came off as I don't know, even though I'm not calling them lazy, it came off as less of them paying tribute to the 80s and more as them using the 80s as an excuse for it to not be polished.
Yeah, when I was watching, I was thinking to myself, like, are they trying to make the special effects or some of these action sequences feel like it's coming from the 80s? Because yeah, some of the special effects did feel a little bit janky. Like a couple things like that. The open road scene when they you've got Diana and Steven in the car, and all of a sudden she dresses up into her Wonder Woman costume and she literally steps out the door and starts running alongside of it. It looked like something out of like Wile E. Coyote or Roadrunner for a second there. I was really kind of taken aback about how startling some of the special effects looked. If you even watch the opening sequence here when they're going through the Olympics, one of the women that is swinging in the scene, she goes and she throws her lasso, and if you watch where her lasso lands, it doesn't wrap around anything. Like you've got the pillar and then the lasso lands right here, like next to it in the open air. It's visually, it's right there if you go and watch it within the first opening seconds of this film. So it does feel a little bit sloppy. I will definitely say that for sure, Stuart. I feel like it is more sloppy though than it is paying tribute, if I had to be honest with you though.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I was kind of mixed on, because I feel like that's kind of what it ends up coming off as, but it's weird to call it that because everything around it, though, like the actual effects they use in the green screen, and then some of the practical effects they use, like with the cars flipping and that open road scene that you were talking about, like all of that looks so impressive. So
really impressive.
I think it just looks so out of place when you take like such a dated like special effects style, but you mix it with some really good effects that look like something from a really high budget modern superhero film. And I think it's just mixing the two of them together. I think that's what makes it like look really bad in the end.
I might make some people upset with this one, but this definitely felt like a episode of Power Rangers that was just, made in movie length. That's what it felt. That's honestly what it felt like to me. And to be honest with you, some of them episodes of Power Rangers were better. It just didn't make any sense with the hype that was built. As we see, the Rotten Tomato score is dropping, is not certified fresh anymore. I really felt like Patty Jenkins got her point across on the tone and the story she wanted to tell. Even in the comments, I see a lot of people talking about the Wishing Stone. The Wishing Stone was what felt the most like a comic book to me. And being a stone being imbued with a god's power and it being misused, and then coming to find out that this same stone has, destroyed civilization over and over again. To me, that was a great plot. That wasn't fleshed out enough. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like they could have went deeper into that, especially with as long as Diana's heritage has been around. I'm thinking there was a few more people she can go to ask some questions about, different situations, instead of, relying on Kristen Wiig to find out all the information she needed. Like, she don't know people. That's what I don't get. All this lore, and this could be them. You really can't separate her from the DCEU when she's such a prominent figure in what we've watched in DC movies in the past, you know what I'm saying, 10 years, and the story that's built up. But we know she has connections. We know she's built connections. And I just feel like Kristen Wiig did her damnedest to make that part of the movie resonate with you. But I'm sitting here like, man, I know she can just go back to Themyscira and, you know what I'm saying, ask her moms what's up with this.
Well, I don't think she knows. I don't know if she knows how to find it again. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know if she knows how to get back to Themyscira.
Well, if I remember correctly, isn't she banned for leaving the island?
Well, I think that's the thing was like once she left, I don't think she's allowed to be able to go back or find it again. But I will say this: for me, when it comes to the Dreamstone, I like the concept and the idea of it. But again, I felt, and this is the word I'm going to use all review, I feel like it's the execution of it that I think doesn't hold up. The idea of the stone is absolutely great. For me, I honestly wish that they maybe had connected it though more to Themyscira's past. You know, I mean, she references the ideas from, you know, the god of lies or whatever the case might have been. Like, I wonder if there was a way that they could have maybe connected that to an actual person or an actual god from you know, something that she learned from as a kid or something like that, right? Or maybe somehow connected it to some flashback lessons of young Diana from the previous one. Like, there was an element of just like world and lore building that I thought they did so well in the first Wonder Woman that I don't think they really paid sort of any attention to here in this one. Outside of the Asteria, what was the lady's name? Asteria, the lady that originally wore the golden armor.
Oh yeah.
I wish they had more of that in this film, but in regards to sort of the wishing stone, to really understand its power a little bit more and help it grow, I really would have loved to have seen that. But then it winds up getting confusing to me, and this is where the execution part comes in, right? Like the idea of Pedro making his wish that he wants to be the stone. Like he says, let me see if he says, I want to be you, the dream stone itself. First off, he's lucky that the wish doesn't take his shit literally, because if he took him literally, Pedro Pascal would be a rock right now. I mean, so the fact that I wish there was just a little bit more understood as to how it worked, right? Because he renounces his wish at the end. Does that mean that excludes everybody? Like, does that stop everybody else's wishes from happening? Does everybody have to renounce their wish for it to kind of end? I just felt like the power set of the stone was just all over the place, and like it just honestly wasn't fleshed out. And when I think of it, man, guys, I'm not gonna lie, this feels like a Jeff Johns idea. Like this feels like something like a television series sort of idea. Like I don't want Jeff Johns to touch a single movie. Like, please, Jeff Johns, just please go back to doing television. I think that's what you're best at. If you have a plot, it's probably easier for you to expand it over 10 years, 10 episodes or 15 episodes. I just don't want Jeff Johns on my movies, because I honestly feel Patty Jenkins probably did just fine with her Like, I feel like there are aspects in this movie I can tell are probably Patty Jenkins and some things that are Jeff Johns, but I feel like this one was totally Jeff Johns all day. I feel like he was probably the bigger issues when it comes to the script, but maybe that's just me. But how did you like the wishing stone, Stuart?
Yeah, I thought it was a really cheesy aspect, but I think it worked in the sense of like the way the characters worked around the stone. But yeah, the rules of the stone itself did kind of feel a bit inconsistent at times, and especially like with the very end, I feel like that was where the biggest kind of issue I had with the movie kind of plays out, which is the whole thing of the stone literally just like grants the wishes of every single human being on Earth. And you know, I feel like they had a good easy out with it, because, you know, it seemed like once Pedro Pascal renounced his wish, that should have theoretically, you know, renounced all the other wishes, but apparently not. It was all, you know, it was all reliant on the idea that every single person who was watching the broadcast renounced their wish, which I find very hard to believe, given the fact that you kind of look at, so we see the destructive side of it, and I can definitely see like a majority of people realizing that these wishes can definitely bite them in the butt. But with Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, she didn't realize the catch about her wish until like way afterwards. So I do find it weird that they're trying to get us to believe that every single person on earth who made a wish because they were watching that also immediately renounced it immediately afterwards. I find that really weird to believe, and I feel like that could have easily been covered if simply after Pedro Pascal takes away his wish, everything goes back to normal and no one remembers it. And the fact that this was also remembered by everyone at the end of the day, and yet you go to the Justice League movie or Batman v Superman and no one knows who Wonder Woman is, it kind of opens up a lot more questions than I think was intended by the writers of the film.
I totally 110% get what you're saying. But I honestly think part of the movie, when it came to, I don't think they wanted you to realize what Diana wished for. And I think they kind of tried to keep it hidden by making you think the wish that Kristen Wiig's character made was what was actually stripping Diana of her power. Because as she was getting stronger, Diana was getting weaker. I think that's where they tried to hide it, and they didn't do that well of a job. Because Kristen Wiig's character, Cheetah, didn't start off just, full power. She got stronger as, she went on. You saw Diana getting weaker. And then later, they tried to, the Chris Pine character was the reason that, she was getting weaker. She was giving up her powers for him, which I actually like the latter, the former better. If it was her powers being stripped from her by the, the other wish made, would have been something better for me. But I get that with what you saying too. It was weird that everybody renounced right afterward. The only person I see renouncing their wish was the dude that killed his wife, because that was just random where they placed that in the movie.
He was like, "I wish you were dead." That guy,
yeah, and then she just dropped dead. I was like, we already knew the true power. Now that'd have been cool if you were trying to find the true power of the stone, but we already knew the true power of the stone. I think that was just there for comedic relief, and if it was, that was really sick comedic relief that they put right there. You know what I'm saying? That had to be something that Jeff Johns plugged in there. Like, okay, all this woman empowerment. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just felt like he just went, I wish Patty Jenkins was dead. And that was his part of the movie right there for him to have. But him renouncing his wish and everybody just so quickly understanding what they were doing wrong, tearing society down, and watching how quick society fell was it was an interesting concept to me on what we're going, what we're going through now. It related to me on stimulus and voting and stuff. Like, I tried to apply it to the real world aesthetic of what was going on. But the one thing that freaked me out is that really tripped me out and pissed me off is that when Maxwell Lord's son wished for his dad to be home,
he didn't go anywhere.
Shouldn't he have just appeared right in front of his son?
No, they actually do explain that everyone gets one wish. So the fact that he technically got his son to make a wish before, that's what stopped him.
Because he said, "I wish." Yeah, that's right. Good point. Because I forgot about that too, Indy. Because that's right. Because I forgot his son does wish for his father to be great. I do remember he does use that wish.
And then
But wishing for his dad to be great, shouldn't have just ended the movie right there and just made his dad like the most honest? like should have been his son's aspect of what great is, and not Pedro's aspect of great. I just feel like they had some stuff that should have ended the movie right there. It should have been doom credits. Movie should have been over.
That's the execution, man. That's the execution of a messy script, man. Me and the girlfriend were like, how did this little kid just end up in the middle of Washington, D.C.? Wasn't he just at home like 20 seconds ago? Now he's in the middle of a freeway looking for his dad. The apocalypse has happened. And Pedro Pascal walks outside and he just happens to be in the middle of the highway his son is at too. Like, what is going on with this? But so, yeah, there are a ton of questions when it comes to at least the script that definitely sort of jump out at me. But I'm trying to see here what else I had.
I do want to point out one kind of thing that also bothered me, whether or not this was intentional for the writers, but I'm not against the selfish aspect of wanting to be reunited with someone else and therefore realizing that it might harm someone else for that goal to be achieved, because I feel like all of us humans are definitely selfish to a certain extent, so it will be a hard decision for us. But at the same time, it's weird to me that concept never gets brought up. Like it seems like the reason Chris Pine wants Diana to renounce her wish is to stop Maxwell Lord, but never once does the conversation come up of how kind of messed up is it that Chris Pine is now literally in someone else's body, stealing that person's life from them, but that conversation never comes up. And that's what kind of bothers me. I wouldn't have minded it if they were like, no, we got to find a way, to see if we can, keep his life, but also have you have your own life or something. If they were looking for another way around it, just they inevitably couldn't find it. I just wish it got brought up, and it's weird that never even gets addressed.
Well, I feel like this movie just misses out on a lot of conversations that need to be had that aren't had, and I just think for me that did kind of strip away some of the emotional aspects sort of the film. My biggest thing is, why did Steve Trevor have to come back in that form? I mean, everybody else's wishes that are coming true are literally coming true the way that they're supposed to. So if you're wishing you want Stephen Trevor to come back, which we know that that's what her wish was, why isn't Stephen Trevor just back and full-fledged blood? Like, why does he have to sort of take over somebody else's sort of life like that? The execution of that one immediately confused me. That was, for me, sort of the very first jumping off the tracks of this movie, when we get the reveal and she the camera's going around a couple times, you're seeing this weird dude. I'm like, I have no idea who this guy is. I'm understanding that this is Stephen Trevor inside of it, but then realizing that everybody else sees some other dude, but only she's seen Chris Pine Stephen Trevor. It just felt weird to me. Like, why couldn't Stephen just come back if you're just making this stone grant all these wishes as is?
Mm-hmm. They should have had a part in that movie where she was walking somewhere with that dude and some girl just came up randomly and was like, "You didn't call me back last night." Yeah. I mean, they should have capitalized on the whole situation, and that would have made that whole scenario a little bit better. Mm-hmm. I think the stone couldn't bring him back because there was nobody to bring him to. That's why they put him in, somebody else's body. But that could easily be explained with a statement or, some type of figuring something out. But they miscapitalize even for comedic moments. With him being in somebody else's body. They just missed out on aspects of what it could be. And God forbid they molested this man. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know what to think. Is that basically like, I don't know. It's so many crimes that happen in this movie that are going to go unsolved. It's just, and the more we sit here and break this down, the worse I see some of the movie being. And I love Gal Gadot as a person, as an actress who can't act, but she showed more emotion in the scene where she died in Fast and Furious than she did to me this whole entire movie.
That's weird because I actually really liked her in this. I thought she did a great job.
I was for me, I did all the emotional scenes didn't necessarily hit for me. I don't know if that was directing wise or not. But yeah, they didn't all hit me too well, Stuart. Which ones really stood out to you though?
I think like just the moment where she first kind of realizes it's Chris Pine, and I liked, and that's where I liked the aspect of Chris Pine being like, in someone else's body, essentially, or sorry, Steve Trevor being in someone else's body. I love the aspect of that, but I was actually thinking if that's what they were doing, that they were going to do something really cool with it. So it's kind of, again, it goes to the kind of thing of, I feel like, what Indy was saying is that there was just like a lot of missed opportunity with that, a lot of aspects that they could have explored, but then they just kind of didn't. Even the fish out of water stuff that I was really looking forward to, taking a guy from World War I era and bringing him into the 80s. It felt like they had a lot of fun for like the first 5 minutes, and then that kind of got dropped. I kind of wish we had a little more time of him getting used to the 80s a little bit, just, maybe a few minutes more of that.
Like those are aspects that I really loved. Like I did enjoy getting to see the fish out of water references. Like I love seeing her take him to NASA, right? Kind of really blow his mind, seeing trains for the first time. I thought Chris Pine did a great job in regards to just being awestruck, right? But again, those little moments of sitting down and talking and having conversations with each other between Stephen and Gal or Stephen and Diana that we got all in Wonder Woman 1, trying to learn about that particular current time and their particular mindsets. Like, I wish we had more of those conversations in this movie, but from Steve's perspective. I mean, Homeboy literally missed out on so much. I really would have loved to see them talk about that, talk about their feelings a little bit more. But this was just a showcase of, hey, let me give you on a tour. And then there are times when Steve just feels like he's just in this world, like he just knows how to do things. He's just fighting alongside with Diana whenever he can. I really would have loved to have seen more of that learning and coming into this new world moments between those two.
And I might be getting a little ahead of myself on this, but what friggin' president wishes for more nukes rather than world peace?
I mean, but you also have to remember back in the 80s. I mean, back in the 80s, we were in the middle of Cold War, weren't they, or something like that?
Yeah, who just doesn't wish to put it to end and be the most power? You know what I'm saying? Like, we're in power. This is over. Like, that was just random.
I gotta quote Kingpin on this one. There's no profit in world peace.
And I also want to really correct something real quick here for Dino Nice. He says the Wishing Stone wasn't found yet until after Chris Pine came back. No, that's incorrect. I believe they found the Wishing Stone was at the museum because they stopped the robbery. Wonder Woman stopped the robbery. It was at the Smithsonian or at the museum, right? And then I believe it was Kristen. Yeah, Diana goes to go ahead and inspect the Wishing Stone, and when she picks up the Wishing Stone, the first guy comes by and he wishes for coffee. He immediately gets his coffee. So then Diana picks up the stone, and we clearly know she makes a wish there. I'm assuming that's when she winds up making her wish for the stone. So no, the stone was already found prior to Chris Pine coming back. That's why Chris Pine comes back, because of the Wishing Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I just wanted to clarify that for him.
Yeah. So, shoot, I
will say this. One of the other aspects about this movie that I did enjoy, though, and I know I'm not sure how many other people felt about this, but I really like the idea of there being an invisible jet, guys. I can't lie. Like, one of the things going into this movie that I told you guys I wanted to see, can I please get me an invisible jet? And I got me an invisible jet. And honestly, I really enjoyed that scene. It wasn't as maybe I'm just an emotionalist asshole. I don't know. Maybe just things aren't connecting with me like I want to. Like, I saw some people on Twitter like, oh, the plane and jet scene made me cry, and the fireworks. I'm glad it hit you guys that way. It didn't do that for me, but I love getting an opportunity to see the invisible jet in here. Her being able to utilize, I think she said she was a power that she learned, something that from her father, because of the fact that he was able to hide the mascara, she wind up trying to figure out how to utilize that ability to make things invisible, which she mentioned she's done once before on a coffee cup, which she apparently lost because it was invisible. I wouldn't be surprised if she lost this invisible jet too, but I thought it was pretty cool that it wasn't necessarily her jet, but she was able to make something kind of turn it invisible. I enjoyed what it looked like. What about you guys, though? How did it hit for you?
No, you go right ahead.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
I was going to say, I love the scene itself. I just didn't like how we got there. In fact, I would actually say that was probably the most Zack Snyder's thing in this film, because, Zack Snyder with his things, it always feels like I always love a lot of his shots and a lot of his visual cues that he does in his movies. I just never like how we get there. You could tell that he just had to fit it in, and he didn't really care if it worked for the story. And that's kind of what we get with this scene. We get a great scene between Diana and Steve Trevor in the plane as they're flying through the fireworks. And it's something that feels very much like, going back to the 80s Superman. Definitely feels like that, like a perfect romance scene between the two of them that,
definitely.
you definitely could take your girlfriend to.
Like
and
Superman and Lois flight almost,
Yeah, that's exactly what the vibe I got from it.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, it was just so weird that before going to it, first of all, Steve Trevor being able to fly. I'm not a pilot. I don't know much about this stuff, but being able to go from a World War I plane to being able to fly an 80s jet, I don't think it would be that easy. The other thing is that Wonder Woman suddenly has the power to turn things invisible now, and this is something that doesn't get explored later on at all. It gets brought up in this one scene, And I don't know, that seems like a pretty impressive power to have that you'd want to utilize a little bit more. But I guess she's just like, nah, I'll just use it for this plane, whatever.
See, that didn't even bother me so much as compared to the idea that Diana's probably out of a job now because somebody literally saw her log into this place, steal a plane, and then just go off and come back to work like it's no big deal. Like I was worried about her keeping her job, and you guys were worried about her power set.
No, I was worried about like why did they have to struggle to beat Steppenwolf when all they had to do was make the Flash invisible, and then that whole fight's over with. Like there's no anticipation to fight Doomsday in the Justice League, the Snyder cut, because she can just make Superman invisible, and then Doomsday won't be able to see him. It absolutely made no sense to me at all. And then just to do that, give us something that we wanted. We all clamored for the Invisible Jet, even though we know it makes utterly no sense. It's something from the comics. It's nostalgic. It's something that we wanted. To give her the ability to fly by the end of the movie and just make the jet mean nothing.
Well, I will say this in regards, I didn't have a problem with the flying. To me, it doesn't even feel more like. I don't even say if it feels more like flight as it feels more like hang gliding to me, in a sense. I feel like just everything, she's based off everything off of momentum, it feels like. Whether she's grabbing onto the plane to launch her into the sky to give her that momentum, maybe using the lasso to kind of whip herself kind of forward. I just think maybe as an Amazonian, considering everything that we've seen them being capable of doing, sometimes even like defying gravity when it comes to the Olympic stuff that we saw in the very beginning. I can see the Amazonian warrior like Diana being able to, considering just the power sets that she has, be able to navigate her way through the sky and things like that, almost like a bird or a feather floating on the wind, if you will. Like I can see that happening. It doesn't feel as outlandish as maybe it looked at times.
Also, I want to see what Stewart has to say about this. They're on their way to try to stop Maxwell Lord from destroying the friggin' world. You know what I'm saying? Being this wishing stone. And they take the time to do spins and fly around in the air and watch fireworks on their way to go do this. I will be flying as fast as I possibly could from point A to point B. He's taking all these up angles, spins. Let's go up here and look at this. You're supposed to be going to stop the destruction of mankind as we know it, a civilization. And you're just watching fireworks.
I mean, I saw it as like, even though they do have a mission that they have to achieve, Steve is probably very aware that this might be his last night alive. So I feel like it's just him wanting to have a tiny bit of fun before they go on their mission.
Only a 2-minute detour.
Yeah. So a little detour, and not to mention trying to get used to the flight controls and everything like that. That's that. So it didn't bother. That didn't really bother me too much, honestly.
I almost turned the movie off right there, and I swear I almost did. Like I hit pause, and I like looked out the window and just thought about it for a second, and was like, "No, I'm gonna review this. I'm gonna finish watching it. I'm gonna give it a chance." And I hit play again.
Actually, there is one last thing I need to bring up also, because I need to get Indy's input on this. But I kind of jokingly mentioned this in our Facebook group chat, but as I've been re-listening to it, I'm actually almost dead serious. Like, even though Hans Zimmerman has recycled his own music a lot of times, like I'll point out that the Doctor Strange theme song is literally the exact same song as the Star Trek theme song, essentially, that he used. With this movie, though, what kind of bothered me is there was the flying scene, which I thought was a great scene with her learning how to fly for the first time. The music that they use is literally the same song from Mass Effect 3, but without the piano riff. But it's that same the same melody though that they used at the very beginning of the first mission of Mass Effect 3 when you're you're watching all this destruction. And the only reason it really bothers me is because I've seen other artists get sued for so much less. And seeing this, I'm kind of like, it's literally the same song without a piano. And it's weird to me that no one's talking about that. I don't know. I just wanted to get your input on that.
I honestly think it was Leaving Earth. After you did it, I went and looked up the songs. Listen, it's definitely just that without the piano riff. But But the thing about it, it sounds like it's enough of a sample where he didn't actually clip like the whole melody, where it's something that he put together, but it's a sample of that, and that's how he's going to get past the copyrights, you know what I'm saying, for the song. And adding that piano riff makes it so different that he actually can't be sued because he didn't take the whole bar, you know what I'm saying, of the music. But as soon as you said that, I went back and listened. I was like, yeah, this dude's been getting over from being lazy his whole career. Like
no, I'm not gonna say his whole career, man. We got to nitpick. We got to pick and choose. We can't say his whole career like that because he does have some amazing content out there. Especially like Man of Steel's theme. I absolutely love that. If that's ripped for something, then maybe I'll get on his case about it. But I think Hans Zimmer did. I think Hans Zimmer did just fine in here. I'm not too familiar with the Mass Effect one, so maybe I'll have to go back and check it out. I will say this though. Really, the only thing that really jumped out at me from the Hans Zimmer score was probably the intro. I thought the introduction and the musical score attached to it, I thought that worked out really, really well. And of course, maybe bringing back some of even her own, the classic theme for Wonder Woman from the first one in a couple of her battles that we wind up getting in here. But outside of that, nothing overly impressive for me though, as far as the musical score went. I will say this, one of the things that one of my gripes that I did have about the film though was the fact that it just left a bunch of unanswered questions. Like, whatever happened with Minerva, right? Did she ever? I'm assuming maybe she renounced her wish, but they never really specify. Like, I know she when we see Kristen Wiig again at the end, she's just her normal self. But does that truly mean that she renounced her wish? I mean, can she turn into Cheetah whenever she wants to, and she's just not in Cheetah form right now? They didn't really specify that, so I don't know what happened with her. Did Maxwell ever go to prison? Right? I mean, last thing we saw, he was apologizing to his son, saying that he wanted the best for his son. We never got an epilogue in regards to what Maxwell Lord's fate was. I also put, how did the wishes work? Did he renounce his wish and it fixed it all? Does everyone have to renounce their own wish? There was just a bunch of unanswered questions. Like, I think IGN even maybe asked her, Patty Jenkins, what happened. So it says, what happened to Barbara, aka Cheetah? Like, why wasn't it explained? And she says, I have my reasons for making it ambiguous, is what she teased during a Q&A session with a small group of press. She says, and I think it's not clear her point of view on everything that just happened. The truth is, there may or may not be more to come, and reasons for that. But also, it's complicated what goes on with Barbara. Even if it was that she did rescind her wish, then what? She goes back to her normal life, and now Diana is not there anymore. It would take time, and it would be a big deal to try to culminate her story arc one way or another. So there was multiple reasons for doing it that way, and it leaves you wanting more answers. There's nothing wrong with that. You know what that answer sounds like? We have no idea what the fuck her finale was. That's what that screams to me. Like, we have no idea how to wrap up her story, so we just didn't. I mean, maybe they have plans for her in the future. Maybe she comes back as a Wonder Woman in a Wonder Woman 3, but you can't tell me you couldn't give me some aspect of an ending for her to tell off her story. I don't know, guys. I feel really terrible about this script. I just feel like it's all over the place. And I just don't think this is, like, I think Patty Jenkins is better than this, guys.
It's way too many people running around and know Diana's identity too.
Well, now maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Yeah. But the writing, I don't know. I'm starting to think maybe that's the reason why she said there's not a Wonder Woman 3 coming anytime soon. Like maybe she understands what's going on, and maybe she really knows the product she's putting out. Maybe that's why she's running to Disney to do a Star Wars thing. She's like, maybe this will take off, and I don't have to come back over here. That, you know what I'm saying? Let somebody else do that. But now I'm feeling a little bit unsure about no, I'm not. I'm feeling more confident in the project that she's finna do for Star Wars because of the way storytelling is done. Because if this wasn't a Wonder Woman film and it was just called like Amazonian, or you know what I'm saying, something like that, it would have been an amazing film. It was just the fact that we know this character, we know where she came from, we know where she's at now, that a lot of the stuff that went on in this movie didn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking back at the first Wonder Woman, it looks like she directed it, and then they had Alan Heinberg and Zack Snyder did the screenplay and story for the first one. So coming into here, yeah, this one was written by Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns. Let me pull. I want to pull up her other movie that she did, Monster. Didn't she do a movie Monster back in 2003?
Monster was
Yep.
flipping amazing.
Was she the writer for that? Yeah, she wrote that. See, that's what I'm saying. Like when I look at this script, I mean, based off of the fact that I think wasn't she nominated for? She won an Oscar, right? What did she win the Oscar for?
Monster.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a Best Actress one for Monster, so I don't think
Yeah.
she was. I don't know if she was nominated though for a screenwriter or anything like that. But it just feels odd. Like again, I'm leaning on Jeff Johns to blame, guys. Maybe that's just me. I just feel like this felt very much more like written for a television series than written for an actual movie. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what it felt like. It felt like I was watching a CW, like episodes of a CW show.
No, CW shows are written better than that.
Oh, sorry, my dog is back here barking. Hold on a second.
No, she just agrees. That's all it is. She just agreed.
Dog's like, yes, don't you dare compare Wonder Woman to my Flash or Legends of Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow is that last season was written 10 times better than what this movie was.
What did you guys think about the use of the lasso in this movie? You know, one of the things going into the trailers that I really enjoyed, and especially after the very first movie, was the use of the lassos that I truly enjoyed. And I wouldn't have minded certainly seeing it more in this movie, but there are elements that I sometimes felt like it was maybe a little bit overused, like having a little bit too much fun with the lasso. I thought there was some really cool moves, but I guess a part of me kind of missed sort of the sword and shield days. You know, maybe those are a little bit outdated. You can't just go around chopping people down anymore like you used to. But you know, considering the fact that you're not in this big old war, but there is a missed element towards just good old hand-to-hand combat and good old swords and shields combat that I kind of missed. What about you guys? Did you like how she utilized the lasso? I thought the lasso looked great. I thought the special effects for the lasso were pretty good, but maybe too much. What do you guys think?
I loved when she used the lasso to oh man, what was it? It was that scene with Chris Pine where they where she was trying to show him like the history behind the armor, and I love the concept of how like the lasso can like be used to show people the truth without just trying to get the truth from other people, because that is something straight out of the comic books, is that there is a lot to the lasso that, you know, it's a lot more than just simply you can't lie. There's they've even used it to try and help restore someone's memory, as long as the memory is blocked and not like completely gone for them. That's something that the lasso is also able to do, is that you can seek the truth of what actually happened. And I do. So yeah, there's like a lot of mysterious power with the lasso, and I love that they explored that in the movie as well.
I did also like how she actually utilized it to reach everybody across the world. The sneaky idea of wrapping around Maxwell's leg and being able to communicate with everybody. I thought that was pretty clever. Also, clever use of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Anthony hit it dead on the head. Let me say it. Wonder Woman is the greatest melee fighter in DC, according to me. We really didn't get much of that in this film because she relied on lassoing everything. She was the greatest rodeo, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, in the history of DC, because that's all she used it to repel bullets. She was grabbing people, pushing around. They literally, the whole opening scene, I believe, in the mall was her in that lasso, getting kids out the way, wrapping people up, throwing up. She was Scorpion the whole entire movie. She was the one trick pony, and I really think it took away from how dynamic her character really is. It looked great on screen, except when she's just like grabbing onto lightning bolts and it's not wrapping around anything. It looked like Spider-Man's web, and no, Spider-Man's web actually looks better because it springs out and it sticks to stuff. Like she was just it felt like one of them stick figure games, like when you're throwing a rope to connect the stuff but it's not connecting, it just hits the thing and you just go. It made no sense to me. It looked really good. It just like she had a bendable lightsaber. It I,
Mhm.
it was just weird to me, man. And at times it just seemed to glow a little bit too much. Like they did too much with they went lasso crazy. They did too much with the lasso. But I can understand, like you said, in that time, getting away from the sword or shield, because that's like breaking the law and you can go to jail for that. And
I'll go ahead.
and the lasso was just a good, you know what I'm saying, a weapon you could use where you don't have to worry about harming anybody.
Yeah, and I do appreciate the fact that when they are in the White House, and they're trying to get to Maxwell Lord, how Diana does mention the idea of, like, you know, don't use guns, you know, like it's not their fault that they're being sort of mind controlled, right? So she's like, let's just beat their ass a little bit, and so she winds up using the lasso to her advantage there. But yeah, I do feel as though it was a little bit of an overuse of it. I really would have liked to have seen a little bit more hand-to-hand combat, but the times that they did use it, for me, I thought it did look pretty beautiful. I thought it looked pretty good on screen, honestly, but I definitely want to see more hand-to-hand stuff. But yeah, so overall, I mean, I honestly felt like it was just a decent film for me. One that I definitely enjoyed. Again, being able to go to sort of the Sam Raimi, Richard Donner vibes that I wind up getting. I'm kind of getting the idea, and again, it's not to say it's on the same level of those films, but it's understanding just how much Patty Jenkins is truly embracing sort of that sort of side of comic book movies, if you will. Because when I look at the film and I'm able to see some of the characters that really pop off the screen, like Minerva by Kristen Wiig, by Pedro Pascal, by Maxwell Lord, I thought they brought some really great characters to life, honestly. Maybe not the vision or what I thought of Maxwell Lord was going to be, but I love what they were able to do with that character, especially having Pedro play him up as well as they did. So I really thought that the performances were really strong in here. I thought aspects of the story, like ideas of the story that they really wanted to do, were really strong. But again, I just felt like when it comes to the execution of a lot of it, maybe having bolder ideas than what you're actually being capable of pulling off. Like, I remember even hearing Patty Jenkins talk about maybe some of the action sequences, how they're bigger than some of the ones that they've ever sort of done before, right? That they've really have pushed the envelope on their action pieces and stuff. While the execution to those didn't necessarily come across the way that I was wanting to, I can see what her vision certainly was. I just don't know if the special effects were maybe able to keep up with everything that she had as far as some of her big bold plans. And just again, the up and down of the script and all the messes, a lot of the unanswered questions that I wind up having, just had this film a little bit all over the place for me. So while there are enjoyable aspects, again, I've seen this movie twice now. I still laugh and chuckle and smile at, I feel like, all the right times. So I felt like the first quarter of this movie was pretty well handled. But I honestly felt like it jumps the shark once we get to seeing how Stephen Trevor's returning, and of course, just the not so literal wish that Maxwell Lord gives of, I want to be you, I want to be the Dreamstone. From there, it just felt like it kind of just jumped off the hinges and kind of became more of a television series than a movie to me, and kind of dropped a couple levels. But as far as like the lessons go, like, I love what Patty Jenkins was definitely able to do in regards to, you know, the importance of not lying and being honest with yourself and who you are as a person, sort of thing, right? The idea of not taking the easy way out that we see all these wishes are sort of granting people in their lives. I just wish that maybe for some of these other characters, you know, I don't want to say it didn't like the lesson of the story didn't connect with them per se, because, you know, I felt like clearly Diana had to come to terms with something, having to give up something that she loves, right? I think clearly Pedro Pascal's character and Maxwell Lord kind of learned that, but I don't know. I guess I wish the execution of how they learned those lessons maybe went a little bit of on a more of a grander scale, maybe. But you know, so I see the message there. I'm sure it connected with some people. not everything just simply just didn't connect with me. So a little bit all over the place for me. If I had to grade this movie, I'm leaning at like a C or a C plus. So anywhere between, I would say, 75 and maybe like 78. I'm kind of really on the fence with this film. Like a good film, passable, but man, I definitely have a ton of questions and some things that definitely need some improvement on. So if I had to grade it, C or a C plus. But what about you guys? Let me go over to you first, Indy. What about you? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking I'm with you. You know what I'm saying on a lot of that. I'm scared. I'm paranoid now because I'm worried about the movies that we have coming in the future. This makes me question Black Widow. This makes me question Doctor Strange. This you know what I'm saying? This makes me all this stuff that I anticipate. It makes me wonder if my personal anticipation is set too high, if I'm demanding too much from movies now because of me being spoiled, you know what I'm saying, from what it was before, from Wonder Woman, from Infinity War, from Endgame, from different stuff like that, and wanting everything to be this super epic, perfect thing and not being able to enjoy stuff. I'm scared that my enjoyment for cinema is leaving. So does that have to do with the current climate we're in and me needing an escape and not getting the full escape? If I'd have went to the theater, would it have felt different to me?
That's another good point too, Indy. I mean,
yeah.
If you had seen it on the big screen, the way that it was supposed to be, right? Like, would it have a little bit more impact on you? Would you certainly view it differently? And just to go off of your expectations, there's another reason I think for myself why I watched the movie twice, because knowing me, I did go into this movie with high expectations to see, is this the movie that I wanted it to certainly be? When I realized that it certainly wasn't, I think that's another reason why I wanted to go back and watch it a second time, to be like, okay, this isn't the movie I necessarily had asked for, but coming from a Patty Jenkins perspective, if this is the movie that you have in store for me, then let me sit back and watch it a second time just as that particular movie and still kind of view it. And it still had I still had my issues with it outside of what I wanted to see. You know what I mean? But so I get what you're saying there, Indy. I'm sorry. Continue to elaborate though.
No, but that's literally what I was getting across. So I'm worried what the future holds, especially for these big TV shows and movies that are coming out. Can I level out my expectations to actually enjoy a movie, especially when I know right now that I'm probably going to try to enjoy them from home?
I was going to say, how many times have you seen Wonder Woman? Did you watch it twice, 3 times on one time, or what?
Yeah, I can tell you how many times it played. I can't tell you how many times I actually paid attention to it. But in my household, it's played 7 times.
Okay, gotcha.
I was engaged maybe 1.5.
Would you go and check it out in the movie theaters?
No.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't. No.
Okay. What about you, Stuart? Give me your final thoughts on the film and your grade.
Final thoughts. I really enjoyed it overall, even though I feel like I had a lot more issues. Now that we're all like kind of breaking the movie down, I realized, I have a lot more issues with this film than I initially realized when I had first watched it. But I think it kind of just came from the inevitable overhype that the film had due to it being delayed for so long and due to how great the first one was. I feel like a lot of us kind of went into it with an unfairly high expectation. But that said, like you were saying, Adam, watching it again without that expectation, just knowing for what it is. For me, like when I watch it like that, I do still really enjoy it. I am sad that it didn't have quite the same impact that the first movie did, but I still had a good time. And I definitely, again, going to what you guys were both saying, this isn't quite a movie I'd be like, you guys got to see this movie, it's amazing. It'd be more like one of those things where if someone expressed interest in watching, I would definitely say, oh yeah, it is totally worth a watch. I would warn them about their expectations. But I'd say overall, though, my grade for the movie would be a B minus.
Oh, did you give a B? Did you give a grade, Indy? A C also? Okay. Yeah, I'm leaning CC plus right now. When I go on Cinema Score website, they're at a B plus. Wonder Woman 2017 was graded an A, so definitely a little bit of a drop off. I believe I don't really pay too much attention to Rotten Tomatoes these days, but I know that it was at like 87 originally, and it dropped to like the 60s as of now. So I definitely feel like it's probably in that range. So it seems as though people are enjoying the film, thinking it's a good film, but it's definitely just not meeting the expectations and the levels I think that some of us certainly had. I will say this: the movie does feel a little bit too long to me. Also, I feel like you could probably chop a good 30 minutes out of this movie, maybe a good 40 minutes or something like that. Tighten it up a little bit, because I do think that maybe there is some dialogue that maybe goes a little bit too long from time to time, but yeah, maybe just cut out maybe 30 minutes of it. Give me more Chris Pine and Gal Gadot together. I might eat that up a little bit also, but yeah, a decent film though. Decent film, I thought, but yeah, definitely has its issues.
Give me more Cheetah. Give me more one-on-one. Give me more one-on-one hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah. Because Kristen Wiig, when she was in the White House kicking everybody's ass, I thought that was a great scene.
That was one of the best scenes to me, as far as like transitioning and moving the story along, but moving it with the action on what was going on. That was amazing, and they did a lot in that one scene. They created the bond. They created the bond between Maxwell, you know what I'm saying, and then Cheetah's character to, I'm going to protect him because that's another thing that had me go crazy about what was going on in his wishes. She wanted to protect him because she wanted to keep her wish. So yeah, if he renounces his wish, do all the other wishes go away? Or is that just what she's assuming, you know what I'm saying, because of the situation? And she's just trying to make sure there's nothing that can make her, you know what I'm saying, her power where she stands goes away. And her character to me was the best character in the movie. She lost the thing that made her beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Her outlook on the world. You know what I'm saying? Always being helpful, being kind. She lost all of that to trade it for stuff that she felt that she wanted. And that was the biggest. I wanted more of that. I wanted more of her.
Yeah, my question was like, did she learn from that though? Right? Like, what was the lesson learned for her at the end of all this? Because we don't even hear her talk at the end, if I'm not mistaken. But you're right, that I did love that scene too, because I think that scene of her at the White House, you mentioned the idea of her building that relationship with Maxwell. That's definitely a moment where it really hurts the relationship between her and sort of Diana. They finally kind of come to terms with one another and realize just the role that they're going to be playing in that film kind of going forward. So yeah, it definitely does hinder and grow relationships in that moment.
And they could have just let them bang it out. Them swinging around on poles and ropes and that was just too much. Like, and although I did like the aspect of the cat being in the water, not liking the water and you know what I'm saying? Cat's not liking water and her losing because she landed in the water. That was interesting to me because that was a whole feline thing. But the hand-to-hand combat, her tearing through the armor, you know what I'm saying? Actually showing how strong she was and everything like that. And them circling around for where they started the story in the beginning, speaking about the one Amazonian that, you know what I'm saying, stayed behind to protect all the Amazonians, seeing her in that suit of armor in the end and almost the stance, and actually seeing that Cheetah was as strong as those hundreds of men, you know what I'm saying? And it was just interesting to see that this one woman is more powerful than all those men were, and watching her tear apart, you know what I'm saying, that suit that was supposed to be the ultimate protection type thing was pretty interesting too.
I was kind of wondering, I'm not going to lie, when I was watching that electrocution scene at the end, I don't know why I was thinking Titans for some reason. Donna Troy getting electrocuted and dying. And I'm like,
and Cheetah living through that. Like it makes no sense, right?
I'm so confused. I was so confused. I was like, what is going on, guys? I don't know why.
Like Diana just in the water. Well, Diana is part God. And Cheetah.
Well, I couldn't remember though what Donna Troy was. I couldn't remember if she was like half god or not.
Well, her backstory literally changes like 3 times in the same continuity, way too many times.
Yeah.
So I honestly didn't know she could die. So that kind of surprised me. So yeah, when I saw that scene in the movie, that's where I went back to was Titans.
No, she
still heard about it.
She knew DC Universe was gonna get canceled. Didn't know if the show was gonna get picked up. And she was like, "Just write me off. I'm going to go do something else."
That could be it. I'm trying to think. I want to say that there was something else on my mind I wanted to bring up about the film, but I'm drawing a blank at the time. Oh, Indy, is the little girl that they utilized for young Diana, is that the same actress that was prior?
I think that's a different actress. She's only credited for the one movie.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. I wasn't sure if they brought back the other girl or not.
But Gal Gadot's husband and her kids were in the movie. They had a cameo in the Christmas scene.
Oh, I'm trying to remember when this movie was originally supposed to come out. It just I hate harping on this movie. I really do, but I got to be honest about the things that really threw me off. Like I wanted a better epilogue scene. Like I wanted she used rope on an airplane. What? What do you mean? What happened?
When he's just tripping that she attached the rope to the plane at that one time.
Oh, to like whip herself into the air. Yeah. Yeah, I do wonder. Yeah, I lost my train of thought now, guys. Damn it.
You do wonder if they chose it to come out on Christmas because of the Christmas scene.
Yeah, just the scene in general. Like I just wanted a different epilogue. I felt like I really wanted to see how everybody else's stories kind of played itself out a little bit. So the idea of them giving us a Christmas scene, I was like, did they do reshoots and just throw this in here like last minute because they knew it was coming out during Christmas? Like the idea of seeing Diane run across the same guy that had was carrying around Chris Pine's Stephen Trevor's body. It was just weird to me, just a little bit too on the nose. But I guess
isn't that awkward? Like is she looking at him like he's naked? Like I know what's in those pants. like that's got to be super awkward for that kind. But I did like his part of the conversation. I didn't like response. I don't feel like she had enough dialogue in this movie, and I don't know if they wrote it like that because of how she delivers dialogue or whatever, but I really feel like she should have interacted more with other characters rather than just Chris Pine's character. Like she should have had more dialogue in this movie.
I get you. I also would have liked to have seen that end credit scene also. I thought that was a pretty cool little end credit scene with Linda Carter making a surprise appearance here. She pops up in the mid credit scene. If you stay for the first round of credits, she pops up. But I love the fact that they wind up bringing Linda Carter back from prominent Wonder Woman fame herself to go ahead and play Asteria at the end. I thought that was pretty cool too.
Linda Carter still looks amazing.
She still looks amazing after all these years, man. I don't know if that means that they have bigger plans for her. Patty Jenkins has mentioned the idea of them doing like a Themyscira spinoff film. I don't know if she would have any role in that, or if this is a nod towards that, or if maybe she's got bigger plans for Wonder Woman 3. I don't know. What do you guys think, and how did you guys at least like the little mid credit scene that we had?
Go ahead, sir. I'm curious.
Okay. I was gonna say I really like the end credit scene. I don't think it's building up to anything. I think it was there just for a really fun wink at the audience.
I really think that's what it was too. Just to turn around and see Linda Carter, just to honestly give her just due she deserves, and maybe that's her seriously passing because she came on screen as a different character, so like her really passing the torch. You know what I'm saying, to somebody else to play the character.
Mm-hmm. That would have been pretty cool. I would even love to see Linda Carter return for the Wonder Girl series on CW. That
would be awesome.
I think that would be pretty neat. But yeah, I thought that was nice. I was kind of hoping to maybe a bigger connection to the DCEU overall, but outside of that, I thought that was pretty nice. I'm glad that they paid homage to that.
Was I the only one person mad that like a lantern ring didn't like shine or something? Like I was like, it's 1984. I was looking everywhere I possibly could for a lantern ring.
Oh, for like an Alan Scott or somebody, or Hal Jordan pop up somewhere.
Yeah. I'm like, do these guys not see what's happening? Does nobody pay it? Like, where there are other heroes that exist? Where are they at? Like, I'm always wondering that type of stuff. Like.
I did love the idea and the choice of them to still keep her kind of mysterious. I mean, granted, the events of this movie definitely put her very much into the spotlight, but I did like the element of seeing what drove Diana to making that wish in the first place. The fact that she has sort of been living this life by herself. I mean, can you imagine the idea of having so many friends and I don't want to say family members, but so many friends that you grew up with that you literally had to watch get old, pass away, and like you still sort of be on this earth, and kind of living in secret. Like that's got to be a fucking miserable life to have to live, you know. And so like I get the reason why she certainly made that choice to certainly see him again, and why it was so difficult for her. So again, I do like where Patty Jenkins was trying to take a lot of these characters, and their purposes for this film. But yeah, the execution of everything coming together and even wrapping up was just really hard for me to ignore. But I love what was there, just not how it was put together, unfortunately.
I think Dino Knights is on to something with this. They should bring in Han and have him play a character in the next movie to be one of Wonder Woman's love interests, and then him actually turn out to be the villain in the movie, like she fell in love with a villain, like just to have that reunion.
I do want to ask you guys, for Wonder Woman 3, do you want it set in a different time period, or do you want that one to be modern at this point?
Modern.
It's got to be modern. I need her. I need to see where she's at after the events of Justice League. That's what I want, where her mind state's at, and everything like that. Knowing there's other heroes and stuff around, I want to see where her mind is at during that. Maybe her trying to get her way back to Themyscira, you know what I'm saying, or anything. Or I want to know how she got the damn armor, since we never saw her win anything. Like did she steal it? Like I have to see some connection about what's going on, man. I'm ready. I'm ready to see stuff move forward. I love movies set in the past that show us why a character is how we saw him today, but I'm ready to see where this character moves on from what we knew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely get you there. All right, guys. Any other last words in regards to this film before we wrap up? I mean, I know you guys were saying like the more we talk about it, the more we kind of realize a lot of the things that you certainly didn't like. And it's same thing here for me. But I can still fully embrace the '80s vibe and the Richard Donner and Sam Raimi vibes for sure out of this film. Not as great as those, but I could definitely see that. I honestly think I will see this movie at least one more time. But I think the next time that I see it, I'm going to try and make it a point to see it in the movie theaters. I think that's going to be my next attempt at seeing this film.
Before we head out, I just want to. Jesse Hope says the villain had a happy ending. I'm gonna be just totally honest with you. I don't think we had a true villain in this movie. I think this movie was talking about how people misled and maybe obsessing over something can turn them into a villain. But I still don't believe we have a person who became a full-fledged villain, as per se, when it comes to it, because Pascal's character really wasn't killing. You know what I'm saying? He was trying to protect the dream. He wants to look like the man, you know what I'm saying, in his child's eyes. He wants to win. So, you know what I'm saying, be that person that his child can look up to. And we all understand Kristen Wiig's character's motivation and not wanting to be weak. I mean, she was almost raped in a parking lot in a park. So, like, we understand why she wanted to be what she was, strong. She doesn't want to be taken advantage of or looked over anymore. And you never really had any one of them go to the length of becoming, you know what I'm saying, a true villain. Not saying that they won't. But I really don't feel like I really feel like the villain in this movie was selfishness. You know what I'm saying?
And I love the way you put that, Indy. And I do think that I think you're definitely onto something there. It is one of those aspects about this film that I think maybe people like. The reason why you bring up such good points, because I think those are great moments in this film. You know, like those are great attributes about this movie that maybe just didn't kind of come well together. Like it sucks that great moments like that are kind of overshadowed by all the discombobulated aspects of the movie rest of the way. You know what I mean? Like being able to understand the aspect of, you know, that there really wasn't a villain, that all these people are really just selfishness and greed, right? Like they're also being sort of what's the word I'm looking for? they're being drawn in, right? Like it's not their evil ways, it's something that's sort of pulling them towards wanting to have that more power, you know what I mean? And then kind of fully throwing themselves in it, where then it starts leading them to kind of do these evil actions, if you will, but no true villain. And I think maybe that's another reason why I maybe wanted connections between the Dreamstone and Themyscira, like to maybe put a villain or like actually make a villain connect with the stone aspect. Do you think that bothers some people, not having a villain in this movie per se?
I think that took away from Wonder Woman as a heroine, and how badass she actually is not having a true villain. You know what I'm saying, to go up against, but it's human nature. So man, it's human nature that was the actual villain, and seeing her show compassion, because she could have killed everybody. And it just been dead. I mean, she had a chance to finish that way earlier. You know what I'm saying? It was going to be. She could have just killed everybody. But seeing her show compassion and be a different person and not just be this Amazonian warrior, you know what I'm saying, to be human was refreshing. And you know what I'm saying, in a way to see that on screen.
What about you, Stuart? How did you feel about that? I mean, do you agree with the idea that we don't really have a true villain for this movie? That it's really kind of being dependent on the idea of temptation, really drawing in some of these characters and falling into their weaknesses.
I mean, yeah, I would agree that the main villain of the film was definitely greed overall, but I wouldn't say that Pedro Pascal's Maxwell Lord wasn't a villain in the end, because he did still like harm a lot of people to get his ways. Now, at the end, it's implied that everything goes back to normal, so like no one like actually died from it, maybe at the end. But still, it was the fact that like he nearly did like, you know, kill a lot of people from trying to get what he wanted. And I do think that, you know, whether or not your intentions are good, you know, it's like the saying, every villain's the hero of their own story. It was kind of weird seeing no consequences for him. And then same with Kristen Wiig's character, you know, the fact that, you know, she went out of her way to make sure that Maxwell Lord could continue doing what he was doing. And then again, for her, there also seemed to be a lack of consequences for her at the very end. So I do think that that was a bit weird.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes things feel weird, because like when you watch the scope of like what happens in this movie, like even though these characters are very just everyday people, right? Like a con man, businessman. You got somebody who works at the museum, right? I mean, when you look at just the upheaval that they caused during this movie, how much they clearly changed the world, even if it was just for a brief moment, like it's just hard to tell me that all of that happens and nobody suffers consequences for it. Like you literally changed the entire world, guys. Like homeboy was out here granting wishes to everybody. He was a walking fucking genie. Like people were changing the world around them, and there's no consequences. Yet we end this movie with a Christmas and a star and snow and winks and stuff. And I'm like, yo, what's the ramifications for everything happening in this movie? And it just, I didn't feel like anything happened.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. And with that, there's rumors already that Wonder Woman 3 is being fast tracked after making 85 million worldwide.
Oh, is that how much the movie's made already so far?
Yeah.
Given that theaters are shut down, that's actually really impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, is that just overseas, or is that's worldwide already?
Yeah, 85 million worldwide after a 16.7 million domestic debut. You're muted. There you go.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, listen, the box office, I don't think is going to impress anybody right now. I mean, I don't know how much I don't know what Disney, or I should say, I don't know what Warner Brothers is honestly expecting to make from this. Like, I don't know what they're going to view as a success or not financially when it comes to this movie. Like, I mean, the fact that you're releasing it on HBO Max, I don't think you can go into this expecting an impressive box office. You know, I don't think you do that thinking you're still going to make a ton of money when it comes to the box office. But I don't know. Nice. Well, hey, AJ, I'm glad you liked it, man. I'm glad it spoke to you, man. And, I know this movie is certainly going to hit some people the right way. Trust me, there've been a few people that I've seen really enjoying this movie for certainly what it was, especially over on Twitter right now. So, again, this is going to be a movie. I don't know if it's going to be as divisive as, say, The Last Jedi, but I definitely do think that this is going to be a mixed bag a little bit for everybody, because I have seen some people trashing it. I have some people kind of in the middle, like we have been, and I've seen some people on one complete other side of the spectrum, so again, just because of the fact that it hits us a certain way doesn't mean that we don't want you guys to certainly enjoy it, right? Like, that's not what our opinions are. Our opinions aren't here for you to hate a movie more or to like a movie more. We're just simply giving you certainly our thoughts of how our movie hit us. But if you went into Wonder Woman 1984, if it met your expectations and gave you everything that you certainly wanted it to be, hey, that more power to you guys. I hope that movie holds a significant place in your spot in your life for sure, because I'm sure that it certainly will, and will certainly speak to some people differently. Some messages maybe just didn't resonate with everybody, but more power to you, man. If you really enjoyed this film, I'm glad that you did, AJ, for sure.
It's Deadpool 2.
Oh, is that what it feels like to you, a Deadpool 2?
Yeah, it feels like Deadpool 2. There was nothing bad with the movie. It was enjoyable. It was a lot of fan service, but it just wasn't as good as the first.
In terms of fan reaction, I would definitely agree. But in terms of like movies themselves, they're way, way, way different.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. So I graded it a C to a C plus. You're sitting on the C, Indy, and Stuart, you gave it a B plus, a B plus.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
B minus.
Yeah, I feel like I honestly feel like we're all up in the same area somewhere in there. So I definitely feel we're kind of on the same page. But guys, listen. Jason, my boy Jason says either way, The Mandalorian and that's where we fall back on. I love it. At least we got The Mandalorian. I'm gonna go ahead and check out Soul also this weekend if I can. Hopefully, maybe we'll give you guys a review. Or maybe we'll have Indy if you want to do a review, or Stuart if you want to do a review. That's certainly more.
That's gonna be a really long review with so many different symbolisms and stuff to break down in that movie.
Yeah, man, we'll check it out. We'll definitely keep you guys posted for sure. But I don't know if Jason, Jason did ask me for my critique, and I did tell him I graded it a C or a B. A good movie, but definitely improvement. Certainly needs some work on it. If you have high expectations, maybe just kind of push them back a little bit, pump on those brakes, and go into this film before you do. But overall, guys, listen, at the end of the day, these are just our A+ opinions, but we always certainly want to know yours. How did Wonder Woman 1984 hit you? Was it everything that you certainly wanted it to be? Did it miss the mark? Please go ahead and certainly let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. But before we leave, Indy, if people want to go ahead and reach out to you on social media, sir, how can they go ahead and find you?
Definitely, guys. You can check me out at Nerd Mix Alpha everywhere. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, A+ Hero Report, and check out all the news and reviews that we do here.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And Stuart, as always, sir, how about you? Where can people find you on social media if they want to reach out?
You guys can follow me at TurboStew01 on Twitter.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Guys, thank you very much I know this, I don't want to say it was an impromptu. I know we didn't have plans on going live today, but thank you guys for your time and giving your thoughts on the film. So always good to have some great discussion and talk with you guys. But at the end of the day, we want to know your thoughts, guys. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, of course, and that thumbs up if you love our content and you certainly want to go ahead and see more. And if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so right here at A+ Opinions. We're very active on our main hub page, which is our Facebook page, very active over on Twitter as well. And definitely check us out on Instagram as well as Twitch for you gamers out there. But other than that, that will do it for us here. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy your holidays. And until then, do us a big favor. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And keep it A+. We'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.